as I said in my email yesterday, I'm totally not an expert. So it's all self-trained, and I think I have a few skills which could be important or could be nice to know when you work with figures. And I think we all have to deal with figures, and nice figures are always better than just the R output that we get or something like this. So I have some suggestions how to do it, and some hints that are really good to know, because you can spare a lot of time in it, and yeah, it's easier to know them. So I will share my screen, and we can then talk about any problems that you have maybe with your figures. As I said, you can bring your own figures, because sometimes you have like, I want to do this, or I want to achieve this, and it's a unique problem, and that's why it is nice to be in such a small round. And I don't know, maybe you can give me a short introduction what you're doing, or what did I know, which kind of data we are dealing with, so that just briefly, like 1 minute, I work with on the chair of blah blah, and I'm in my master, PhD, I don't know what, and what to do. So I don't know who would like to start, otherwise I pick one. And then I would pick Sonia, because we already were in contact.
So, my name is Sonia Blankenagel. I'm doing my PhD at the chair of plant breeding, and I'm in the last year now.
Okay. And do you work mainly with R?
Yes.
Okay, so okay. That's also important, because then it's like everybody has the R output, and then, because this is not a nice output, so
yeah, my main struggles are that to make the scales, for example, in R all the same when I have a multi-panel graph, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Something like this.
Okay, good. So I will just pick another Anne-Kathrin, sorry.
I'm from the chair of immunology and animal physiology, and I'm in my second year, and I'm not working with R so far, but with Flojo, for example, to analyze our FACS data.
Okay. And next one, you can also just, I don't have to say the names.
I can say, I am Tejaswini. I'm in the chair of plant developmental biology. I mostly work with confocal microscopy, so all my images are just fluorescence microscopy images. And we normally have to make them prettier or brighter or nicer for publications.
Okay, but you have images, like these are really like JPEG files or something like that?
Yeah. They are TIFF files mostly.
Okay.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Gerhard. I'm doing my PhD right now at the chair of forest growth and yield science. I'm working on how trees react towards drought, and mostly I work with R, so all my output files are like not the prettiest PDF files or JPEG files. And I'm keen on learning some tricks and hints to improve my figures.
Perfect.
Same here. Good morning. My name is Johanna. I'm in the chair of plant genetics and genomics. I'm working only with R. And I think the figures from R are in good quality in the end, but we always in the end for the paper. And I'm using PowerPointing now to do that, and then it's not good enough, I think. So I tried to switch.
Yeah. Good.
Yes, so I'm Lara. I'm in the same chair as Ann-Katrin in the immunology department, and I'm also basically working with flow cytometry. So my main graphs are from PRISM.
Okay. What is the output of PRISM? Is it a PDF or is it?
Yeah, it can be PDF. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Hi everyone, my name is Jose. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm from the chair of bioinformatics. This is my first year PhD in pricing, and I have some problems with the R graphs because I'm using RNA sequence data, so it's kind of very small data. We need to do some comparison about thousands of data in a graph, so it's a little bit difficult to make it beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. RNA is complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's very complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Good. And yeah.
I can continue. So my name is Anna, and I'm an external PhD, and the chair is molecular nutritional medicine. And I did 2 posters with Adobe Illustrator, and every time I start again from scratch because the time between them is quite long, and I never really did a course. And the images I use are usually from R or now also from GraphPad Prism. And yeah, I thought I'd do once a course, then I don't have to teach myself every time again.
Yeah, so what I show you today is like really, I have a few R outputs as they come out, like a box plot, an Mds plot or something like this. And then like I do what I'm always doing and I show you, and then at the end we get hopefully nicer graphs. So I will share my screen now. Yes, so this is Adobe Illustrator. I don't know, I know that it costs a lot. And I know that it's your chair, so my chair pays for it. And there is like an abo kind of thing to buy it. And I worked also with these other tools which are freely available. But for me, this one is the best one to modify figures. I don't know, that's so I teach this Illustrator version. So as you may see, this is the starting panel, and here are all my figures that I modified recently. And for example, I think all of you know, I want to share it a little bit differently. So for example, if you deal with R, you are quite familiar, I guess, with these kind of plots. So this is like a normal box plot. We have groups, and this looks like nothing because we cannot use this kind of plot. You can color it, but if you color it in R, then you say red, green, blue, and yellow or something like this, and then the colors are really not nice. So this is one figure that I would immediately put into Illustrator to modify it. And you have this saved as a PDF file because PDF is always the best, I would say. So I always work with PDF files. And here, for example, we have this one. And if you want to open it in Illustrator, you right click on it and then say open with, and then you choose your Illustrator version. Then it says, which is the first part, and yeah, what do you want to have? So you can either say, I want to have the first plot, or you say, I want to have another plot, or I want to modify all of them. So you can also say, I want to have area 1 to 4, which means page 1 to 4, and then please open all of them. And then just open it, and then Adobe opens it. And then it looks like this. And if you now want to modify one plot and you click on it, you see that it is always one graph. So you can not immediately start to change something or anything like this. So I say, okay, I want to have these two, and I want to work with these two. So I just mark them, I copy them, and then I open a new window. You can choose if you want to have an A4 or if you want to have, for example, if you have a publication and you do sometimes they need like a graphical cover thing, and it has to be in a specific shape or a specific size, or color code is RGB instead of the other one. So really start from the beginning with setting the real measurements, because afterwards it's always a mess to do it afterwards. To start, if you have like, I need whatever this is, oben, unten, upstairs, down, left, right, I need the breadth here and the height here, and it should be horizontal or vertical. So just start in the beginning, choose your the PPI, because this is always like, especially with these graphical covers, you really need to choose this in the beginning. When I start with a figure, I always use A4 because this is the normal format. So I open a blank one, and then I just copy paste here, and you see immediately this is much too far too big. It just makes this not nice. So I can either say I scale it with the mouse, but then it could be like this, because you never, and really you never get it that it is scaled in a nice proportion. That makes no sense. You can never do this. So what I do then is I take both, because I want to have both scaled in the same. So like in PowerPoint or everywhere, you just click on it with Shift clicked and then select them, and then they are selected. And then you say, okay, I want to scale them down to 40%, for example. So you click on Object and Transform, and then Skalieren. I always use this, because otherwise it's not a nice shape anymore. It's not a rectangle, it's not a whatever. So it's not as it should be. So I scale it, and you can say I scale it 40%, or I scale it 80%, or I scale it 60%, which could be nice in this kind of thing, I would say. So 60% would make sense. So I took this, and then I choose this, and then it's the first step that I do. When I now want to start to modify the colors, or if I say, okay, these are too big, these boxes, I want to have them next to each other, but without losing, like if I do it like this, then it looks again crappy. So I don't want to do this. That's how I start. So I then mark all of them. And the first thing is that I say, where is it over here? I always use the shortcut. Gruppe, Schnittmaske, zurückwandeln. I don't know if there's there should be an English word for it, but I mask, something like this. This says that all these lines which are now connected are then disconnected. And this is really nice, because then you still have a group. Where is this group thing? So then the lines are unconnected, but still we have a group. So what we do then is say Gruppierung aufheben, unreveal the group, which is also known from PowerPoint, which is really easy. So then we don't have a group anymore, and you can click on each of these parts here. If you want to do it shortly, as I always do, I mark all of them with Steuerung Control A. And then I say to ungroup them, I make Control Shift G. This is the shortcut. Because if you have a lot of figures, you don't want to click on each of them and always say Object, ungroup, and ungroup all of them. So I always do Control Shift G, and then all of them are ungrouped. If you then want to do these, remove this clipping mask, you say Control, Alt, and 7, and then the clipping masks are all removed, which is also quite nice, because then you just have it. So Control, Alt, 7 is removing all these lines connected to each other. So now we have each line where we can click on it, which is really nice now, because now we can work with it. So I zoom in. Zoom in is either possible here on the left side that you say I want to scale to 300, for example, or you click on Control minus or Control plus, which is always easier to work with the keyboard, I would say. So now we're here, and now I say, okay, I want to color the boxes. Then you can have, I don't know if it looks like this in your setting because I have a adjusted one here, but you can say, you can say go to the window and say which one do you want to use. So I will always work with, let's say, Farben. Then we have here these colors. Or you say, I want to have our help with the colors, which is also quite nice because here you see that when you do this color help, you see nice colors which fit together. So this is also really, really good because then you can just choose, okay, I want to have like a little bit of this setting and I like to have this one colored with this color. And then you see, okay, if I want to have the next one in a color which fits to this one, I choose whatever this one, and then this one, and then you choose this one, because these colors are nicely working together. And you immediately see that it fits, I would say. So it's a nice figure. But what you see over here is, oh, where are my bands in the middle? They are lost, so they are gone. So I mark all of them, and that's again like in PowerPoint. You press Shift and click on them, and then they are selected. Please interrupt me if you have any questions. So I'm just talking and talking, so if you have anything, just jump in and say it. So if this is now in the front and you want to have it in the back, it's again like in PowerPoint. And I think all of you are more familiar with PowerPoint than with Adobe. So just right on click on it, and then you say unordnen, it's organized in English. I don't know, but you know it, and put it in the bag. So now it's in the bag. And this is good, and we have this, perfect. So I now want to select this one in the middle, which is not possible now. Yeah, you may see, yeah, I want to have this one, and this was tricky to get. So I don't want to do this in all of them because, yeah, as you saw, I needed to shift it away and then select it because it's not so easy to get it. So what I do then is I select one and say, select similar, and then you can say, what do you want to select? I always choose similar area and bound, like contours. I don't know English word here. So it's like this one. And then all the ones which have the same shape, the same color, and the same surroundings are selected. And then you go to properties, and you can choose, okay, here is how thick it is. And this is this one, because you see this is black and we have a black one. And I want to change this from 2.25 to not that big. So I reduce it, and then you immediately see, okay, that's good. But I'm still not totally convinced that I like this. So I select again all of them and say a little bit bigger. But what I want to have are dashed lines, because I want to have dashed lines. And this is tricky. That's not so easy as it sounds to make just a dash line. So what you do is you go over there in the area of properties and then view, and then you click on this one here. So where you decided how thick it is, you click on it, and then you say, I want to have dashed lines. And then you can play around, and that's really like, I don't know, you can say how's the size of the gaps between and how long should the dash B, so you can play around with it. I always go with the default. And then you have this one. If you want to have whatever weird shape on it, I don't know, you can do it here as well. But this is really good to know, because sometimes you need an arrow at the end, or sometimes you need a dashed line. And in the beginning, it took me a lot of time to figure it out where it is. So here I now say I want to have, not the arrow, the arrow is making sense, but I want to have this one. And you can also do little bit weird shapes, but it doesn't matter. So with this, so that's fine. So I have it like this now, and this is really good. So now we say, okay, I have it, but still they are a little bit too bright. And again, if I do it like this, it looks crappy. So there are two ways. You can either do it like this, then it looks a little bit stupid, but they are in the size that you want to have them. If you do it like this, then you want to choose these weird looking text thing over here, these labels. Then you just mark all of them. And then you take this pipette thing. I think it's also in PowerPoint. So you use the pipetting maybe, and then you select it and say, I want to have it like this. And then it's rescaled again. So that's one way to do it. If you have it like this, then you immediately see, yeah, they are nice. They are now bigger, but nevertheless, it looks weird because they are not overlapped. Then you can say either you choose the size and reduce it, but then it's too small. So we want to have 9 at least, because 9 makes sense. And then you say, good, this word is just as it is. It's a long word, and we have it like this. So either you say, I don't label, and I put here rectangles and say this label on the right side, like a legend, or you say, okay, I flip it a little bit. And that's again object, and then transform, and then you say flipping, and then 45, for example, and then you can put it over here. And you can do this with all the others. What's a little bit annoying is if you now say, I want to flip all of them, then they are again like overlapped, and you need to select them. If you have thousands of labels or hundreds, and it's like confusing. So you can do it like this, and then it looks immediately better. But you see, it's tricky to make them on one line, because here, yeah, you don't know, is it, yeah, it's good. So you select all of them, and then you say, I want to align them here vertical, and then it's aligned. Still, this one is maybe not in the middle of this one. And we know that figures need to be accurate. So you need to align them again. And if you now say, you align them maybe here. Yeah, it's complicated, because if you align them like this, then it's also not good. You can do it like this, but then it's also not good. So it's, yeah, then you see immediately these are now all at the edge, and this is not good because this looks not as you wanted to have it. So we go back, and the easy way is to say, okay, this is a graph. I like this. That's good. The box is perfect. So I group it. And either you choose again object and say group, or you do Control G. And then that's an object, and then you can say, okay, now I want to align them. However I want to do this, yeah. Let's see what's the best. Not all of them are really good. Yeah, They are not so also good, but you get the point. So you can do it then like, no, not like this because then it's reduced. So then you can do whatever you want to align them properly. If you now group this again, you can scale all of it and without losing the properties, which is also really good. If you say, okay, I have a brighter one, it's like this, and then you want to do it like this, and you do all of it manually, it's again a little bit complicated, so it's better to always group them and then scale them. And then you can do whatever you want with it. So now we have the problem that these two boxes are not the same size, and you will never reach the same size here just by trying to do it. So if you click on this now, you see here are the bright and the height, so you can adjust it a little bit. And then you say, okay, this one is 646, for example, and this one is 60 height, and this is the bright. So here we say, let's do 50. Oh, ooh, now it's 150,000. This is far too big. Don't forget the dot. So yeah, so then you can adjust them and put the numbers in it, and then you can be sure that all of them are from the same size. Yeah, so I crashed it now. And that's it. Yeah, but you get it, that this is one nice skill as well, because if you have a really big panel and you want to have all of them in the same shape, then it's complicated if you don't do it like this. So what is then also really nice is not only that you have this pipetting possibility to transfer fonts, but you can also do it by transferring colors. And for example, if I want to have the same colors as before, or I want to have, this one is now this here. Then you say this box is again actually the same. So we can just transfer the color. And then you can do this with all of them. What makes your life even easier and is in the beginning a little bit of work, but it's then so helpful at the end, is that you set up a library with your colors. And this is really a lifesaver. So for all of the publications I have a color palette, a color code where all my labels and all my colors are stored. So I know, for example, this is PCR negative. So this one and this one get these colors. And then you have it. And every time you're doing a figure again, it's not that you need to look up what was the color. So no, it's easy. You can just have one color library and then that's it. So this is the PCR positive. And then this one was, oh, which one was it? Doesn't matter. So this one was this one here. And then that's it. And you can do this for all of your publications, to do one library with the colors. And if you start to feed your library, you do it like in the beginning, you say, I like to select these colors. And then you say, okay, this color is one I really like and I want to have it and I want to to be the test color. So you select the color, you see here if it's selected or not. So you see, okay, this is like the area and these are the contours, so this shape, perfect. So I then go to the plus. And this says like add the element to this library. And then you say, good, I want to edit. And then you immediately see here that it is added. So this one is now stored in my library. And since I don't want to have the hash code over here, because then I don't know what it is, you can click right on it and say rename, and then you say it's Adobe Test, and then it's it. And then you have it in your library and you can have it, choose it as often as you want to. This is really, really helpful. And this is also really helpful if you, for example, I have one big publication and there I set it the colors for the bacteria. And in all the figures I ever generate, I use the same color code for each bacteria. So here I always have the correct colors. And now the nice thing is also that you can share it. So if you work together on one project in in Adobe, you can share your library. And this is then looks like this, for example. And then you can say, okay, who do you want to add? And then you have your shared library. This is great. This is really one big advantage of Adobe, I would say. I don't know if it's possible somewhere else, but this is such a lifesaver, really. So if we have it like this now, and for example, you don't want to have all these labels down here because it's repetitive and you don't need it, then you can just either go and make a rectangle for the label for the legend, which is done over the left side. So you can say, I want to have a rectangle, I want to have an ellipse, I want to have a polygon, I want to have a star, whatever you want to have. You could do it like this and say, this one is my legend. If you click on this Auswahl thing over here, you can select always. So good. This is my label size and I want to have it for all my groups. So you just copy paste it, put it here, wherever you want to have it. And then you can use again these pipetting thing and then click on it, and that's the next label. And this is then this label, and this is the same. Then go back again and say, this looks crappy. So you align them. And if you also want to have the space between the rectangles equally distributed, you also do click here, and then you can choose object distribution. And then it's distributed nicely. Good. Then you say this one is this one is this one is this, and this one is this. Then we can remove the rest and also remove these here. And then you can align them again, because now they need to be in one nice line. And the size is not really good, so we increase the size a little bit. And then it looks like this. Then you can make a group out of it, and then you have it. If you want to label the axis, you can either say, I add a text field by clicking here, and then just whatever, write relative abundance. And then it's, and I don't know why, and I still don't know, there are instructions how to change it, but it's not. The default is always a weird font. Never heard of it before, but I then always change it once to Calibri or Arial or Times New Roman or whatever you want. And then it's changed for a set for the whole page. But yeah, I don't know why it is like this. And if you have it like this now, you can either flip it and say, I want to have it here. Again, you can do your best, but I always think it's not 100% sure that it's right. So you can see here, I don't even know if you see it here. So what I do is, again, I have this one, and then I click on Object, Transform, Rotate 90%, and then I know that it's rotated nicely. And I always do it like this, because then I can be sure that it's nice. Because if you have a figure that generated many figures now, it always comes down to it's not aligned, it does not look nice, the font is not the same everywhere, it's a little bit not so nice, this line is here, this line is here, and yeah. So make sure that nobody can say anything against your figure just with the shapes, because this is so unimportant. But this is how reviewers and how others look at your figures to say, the 300 is 1 inch bigger than the other one. And then they say, yeah. So be sure that all of this is in one size, and yeah, that nobody can argue against the figures. If you have like this and you want to have it bold, or you want to have it not bold, or you want to have it italic, you can choose it over here. Again, if you say this should be in the, let's group now, this should be in the same shape as this, you can use the pipette and click on it. So we can now say we have this one, we have this one. This is our legend. And this is then panel A. As I mentioned before, like it remembers what you did last. So if you set the font, it remembers, but it also remembers if you have italic or bold. I don't want to have italic as a label. I want to have bold as a label, and I want to increase it a little bit. So this is then figure A. Again, be sure that all of these are the same, and these should be in the back. Good. So this could be one figure, 1A, panel A in the figure 1, for example. Then we want like to add an Mds plot. I think all of you know this plot, and if you get this, it looks crappy. I made it even more crappy because I added some labels because I wanted to know who's who. So this is really confusing, and the numbers are really, really not nice. So we go there and say, open it with Adobe, and I want to have the second one. So I open the second one. Good. This looks not good. So we start to modify it here and then copy paste it afterwards to our final figure. I always recommend you to save each figure individually and then do one big one. Because again, if you always work within the big figure and you have these different panels and A, B, C, D, and then you need to change one thing, then it makes it complicated. So try to have for each figure you have in one figure, one A1 file or a PDF file. A1 is the Adobe file ending, the Adobe file. So it's always nicer to share it between others, because if you have a PDF file and I'm working with you together on a project and you have an older version than I do or vice versa, then it could be that some of the colors or some of the fonts or something like this is not transferred properly. So the AI is always better to share. So again, we are now here and I don't like anything of this. So first thing that I always do, Control A, select all. Then I remove the groups, Control Shift G. And then I do Control Alt 7, and then all these clipping masks are removed. You immediately see the clipping masks are removed, while here you don't have these labels, they are cutted. And if you remove the clipping masks, then you see them. So you see everything, even if it's outside of the PDF. So everything hidden is now unclipped. So first thing, I remove this. This makes no sense. Good. I don't like the frame, so I remove the frame as well. And then I say purple is not the color I have in my library. So I click on this one, and when I started, I always clicked on each of them and changed the color to whatever, like this. Now, let's do it really like we did it before. Yeah, okay, HA is whatever color. I'm not in the correct library. Doesn't matter. So I did it like this, and then I changed all of them manually. This is a lot of work. So I now say I have this one, and then I select same area and contour, so like this, and then you see immediately that all of them are selected. And this is really nice. So what you see here, this like color is this one here. And I want to change all of them to this one. Good. Still, you see that there is a surrounding. And this is weird because if we click on it, you see that only this one is colored, but this is not colored. So why is it purple? And you can zoom in a little bit. And if you now, it's always in R. If you move this back, you see there's still another shape behind this. So you go again and say gleich Fläche Kontur. And then you see, here it is. So you then click, everything which always in the front is selected. So here you see it's blank. If you now say you want to have it orange, then it's orange. If you have no color, you say no color. Here I want to have it green as well. Good. So I go there. Or you say, because this is again a little bit weird, because this one is actually the same color as this one, but it looks different. And this is because the transparency set. So I always go then and say, Ausweis, I remove them. And then I go there and say, give me that, and I color them. So then it's the same. But now you see, this is also not what we want, because this is again overwhelming. I would say you see nothing. So this one is the one which bothers us. So either you say, I don't want to have a color at all, then you do it like this and say no colors. Or you say, okay, color is fine, but don't be so dominant. And I set the transparency to 30. Then you see it looks better. Then you can say, put this one in the back, and then the other ones are in front. This one was where the label was before. You have now, you can just remove it, like with this. Then you see it's again something behind, you can remove it. And then here is the center of the Mds Plot. Either you say you remove it, or you say you use it as a legend. You could also do this, or you say, I want to have it here still as the center, so you can put it there. Depends on how you like it. You can also do it as a legend and then say my center is now in whatever star. I never use the star because there's no need for it. But you can also put it here, for example, and say, this is my center. Or you just leave it like this because you see it over here. Good. So now I go to the next one and say, so zooming in also helps. And I say, I don't want to have all of these double-decker ones, I remove these ones, and then I only keep the red ones here, and I want to have it as a control group, which is in my case, let's say gray. And then I have it like this. I go back to the transparency, set it to, yeah, okay, that's a little bit too weak. Have it here, then put it in the back, take this as my label and remove it. And I do the same with all the others. And this is, I don't know if you did it before by selecting all of them individually, but this is also really a lifesaver. And if you have it like I do it, like the library, you can do it easily. So, you know, I can talk and I can do it while I'm talking because it's really just clicking and changing and it's done in less than 5 minutes. And we have it now here. This should go in the back again. Like this. Perfect. So you see, it looks better, but not as good as we want to have it. So here again, if you want to have all of them in the same size, I would always recommend you put in a 5 here or a 4 or whatever. And then I have it like this, and you see here it's not. So change it and change this, and then they are all in the same size. They are not. Are they? Should be. Yeah, they here and here, and then again it's here, here. Good. These are my labels. Perfect. So we still have this sample labels over here. So either you keep them, which is not nice because this is always the name, how it is named in your mapping file or your to-do table or whatever data you have. So I would go there and say, I change it to sample 1 and sample 2. And for example, I was only interested in these 2 and I found them, and that's good. So you can either say you select all the others and remove them. I don't know if you can use here. You can say I deselect the others and remove the rest. And then they are gone. So you don't only have to select the ones which you want to have. You can also say, I select all and I deselect the ones I don't want to have. In this case, this would be easier. And if you now go there and say, good, I have my 2 samples that I wanted to highlight. And let's say in this case, a star would make sense. Then you can say, okay, this is the one I'm looking at, and this is the other one I'm looking at. And these are my 2 interesting ones. Then you can do it like this. You can add then a legend here as well and change it to whatever you want to. Good. So now I'm also not such a fan of this lines in the back. I like it if it's clear and not so many confusing lines. But the lines are, in this case, information. It tells you the distance, which is represented by 1 rectangle. So actually we would need this. And then you say, I just take the distance, which is this one, and I remove the rest. And then you don't lose information and you keep your, you have a nice figure. So then I say, I want to have the p-value here. I don't need this one. And yeah, so we can add a description over here, but don't need it right now. So we do it like this. Then we can add a header as well if we want to. And that's it. So we then come here, say, that's fine, it works for me. I group it, good. Copy it and put it in my main figure. Again, do it like this. Is not nice to, yeah, how would you now fit this perfectly under this one without losing the scales and everything? Complicated. So again, I have it here and I scale it to 50 is probably a little too small. So then I put it here. Not mirror. Yeah, even a little bit smaller probably, so you can either play around or perfect. So good. Now we have it here, but as I said before, this is now a little bit, the labels are too small because we have here another label size and we need to modify it a little bit again. So ungroup it and say I select all the ones which are look like it is, or I select it like this and say they should be like this one. So then we can be sure that all of them are from the same size. We have them here. Then I don't know, but I think that these are too thick here. That's like, it looks, I don't see anything. So I choose one of them, one of the lines, I can zoom in a little bit, and say this one. And I, again, don't want to select all of them. So I say, Konturenstärke. These are all, then you see all of them have the same thickness. So this is not a good option to choose. So we take this one and say we reduce it a little bit. Now this immediately looks a little bit better. So again, for me, it's always good to use Fläche and Contour. I don't know, it's area and the surroundings. So I don't know which one you prefer, but this one is the one I always use. So again, choose all of them, set it to a nice thickness. And these ones are also too dominant, I would say, in this figure. So I reduce it a little bit and maybe I do it gray, then it looks better. And then it looks like this. And here we have panel B. This is not a good legend, but you can also take this one, copy paste it in here, scale it, perfect, works. So if you want to change here this shape, or maybe here bold italic makes sense, so you can modify it as well. You can also do this in the legend instead of in the label here, that you say a star represents sample 1, another star represents sample 2, things like this. Then adjust this here. If you want to have a mirror or a frame out of it, you can also do a frame. Then we say we group it again, and we say we group this as well. And then we align them. And then it looks good. So this is how I start to build a figure. If you can save this now. If you want not to save it as a PDF, but as an AI, you go to data and then save as, and then you can choose AI. If you want to save your figure as in TIFF or as in JPEG or as in BMP or whatever you want, you go to data, export, and then export as, and then you can say what you want to save it in. For PowerPoint, I learned, because TIFF is quite nice, but TIFF is huge. And if you send around a PowerPoint and you have many TIFFs in it, you cannot send it around. So I always work with BMPs, which is nice with PowerPoint because it does not change the colors or something like this, and the quality is still good. So I like to do this one. And then you can give it a name, figure 1. Then you say export, and then it asks you which colors you want to have. Then I always say I want to have it 300 ppi, so high, and I don't want to have like this shit scraping it around in the back. So that's it. Save it. Perfect. So if you now open it, you see here it's figure 1, and it's not screwed up like with JPEG. Always, if you now move in with the JPEG, it's blurry, but here it's still good, and it's not as big as a TIFF file. Good. So now we have these figures, and now I want to have a distribution of my bacteria. And this is maybe done in an Excel table. So I want to import an Excel table, which is also possible. Many don't use always, I also don't use always R. Well, because why should I? So I always use Excel for some simple analysis. And let's say you have here the bacteria and here the people, and let's say here the relative abundance of those. And I want to work with them. So I need to transform them because I want to rearrange them like this. Good. So what I now want to do is, these are many colors. Let's say what I want to do. Where's the area? So, for example, here, I want to have the taxonomic distribution for each sample over all these bacteria. And this again looks crappy, and I don't get anything. That's why I transformed it, because I want to have it ordered according to one of these species, let's say. And then you immediately see that it looks a little better. Then you can rearrange them in another one as well. And then it looks, let's say, like this. And this is better, I would say. So we can work with this. And we can say, good, we see here which bacteria species are they. You can also say, okay, I take this one and keep it like it is, and then that's it. But as I said, for example, I have in my library a color for my bacteria. So I want to have this bacteria, the color I want to have it. So I then go here and copy the plot, go back to my Illustrator, take a new one, because for each figure, for each panel figure, one new page, and I paste it over here. So then it's here. I scale it a little bit down to, let's say, 60%, and we see it, and good. As you see, it's again one thing. So Control-Shift-G to remove the groups, and Control-Alt-7 to remove the clippings, and then you can remove the frame here, you can remove the title, you can remove the labels, because we also don't want to have this here in this case. This is tricky. Yes, good. So I know that, for example, here, bacteria, this one, I want to change the color. So I say, I choose by, not because it was the first one I got, I choose this one because then it says, I want to have this color and I want to have all of it, which have the same color. Because if I now try to select this one here inside, it could be tricky because, or this one, this gray one, because I don't really see where it always is. And so it's easier if I say, go here, I'm looking at this one, good. What is it in my library? So I go back to my library and I say, good, this is this one. So let's do this one. Then I also know that Firmicutes, for example, here is one I'm interested in. So I have a color for Firmicutes and that changed the color. Then I have another one, Proteobacteria, for example, which is also important. So again, go here and change the color to Proteobacteria. And I always do it like this. So and then I always have in each figure I'm generating, I have the same colors. And this is important because then you can compare. If you have a graph, then everybody knows, ah, yeah, there was something in the last graph and it looked the same. So good. Let's say the rest I'm not interested in. And I say I give all of them gray. So you can either do it by selecting them all. You can remove them from the initial Excel table or whatever you want to. You can also give them labels as you prefer. So good. Let's do it like this. This actually has one name in my thing here, so we have it here. And then we have it like this. Good, perfect. So this is then our Excel graph, which looked before like this, and now we changed it. But still, it's not perfect. So what we need is the label. And then you say again, and we flip it. Then this one is a little bit too small. So we increase the size a little bit here. And then you have two options again. You can either say, I change all these namings with the rectangulars so that I increase them in the same size. Before we had like 5, 5. This is now huge, but it's okay. Or you copy paste the legend from a previous figure because actually it's always the same. So depends on what's better for you. So if we now change this, we can get our, these are all that I'm not interested in. So I remove them. I remove this one. I remove those, not this one. I remove those, this, and I keep them. So I can select all of them, do a stay looking, then copy paste them together. Since I know which one is which one, which color, I can do it immediately like this. And then we change the size, and then that's it. So it's also nice to import Excel figures because I would never tell anyone, even though that I'm a bioinformatician and I work mostly with R, I would never recommend anyone not to use Excel because Excel is a really nice tool, and why not work with this one when it's available. So if you have any figures that you can easily do with Excel, then just do it. You can also do it like this. Let's just finish it. So we have it like this, for example, now. These look, again, not so nice. We distribute it. Here we do the same. We align it and we distribute it. Good, perfect. We have it like this. Put it here. Then group it, copy it, go to our figure, scale it. And put it here. So what you should do now is again to increase the size of the label here because you cannot read it now because it's scaled, but we don't need to do it now. So we have this here. And again, you see your figure grows and it looks, we did not do a lot now, but anyhow, it looks okay, I would say. So it looks better and it looks organized and it looks structured. If you, for example, not only have like this area plot, but you can also do in Excel. What I'm also sometimes doing is I have, this is probably more for the ones which are interested in statistics, let's say. This one, we have a p-value. I select some with a nice p-value, and I want to show the R-square value, which is represented over here. So I do it with a box, with a bar plot, for example. I like to do it like this. And then you can also go here and say you copy it and put it then back to the Adobe Illustrator. What I recommend is, because here I show you, if you now come there and say you want to, yeah, so I can remove clipping masks and groups, that's easy. But if you want to put them closer to each other, because they're so far apart, that's not easy in Adobe, because it's always a group, what you see here. So this is, I haven't found an option to do this nicely. I'm still looking for it, so if you have any idea, let me know. But you can select one, then it's like this blurrish, and then you can work with one of it, but not selecting more than these two. And if you scale them like this, it's always, again, yeah, not so good. So what I do then is I go to Excel, and you can set over here also many nice things. And you can, I think it's already this one. Yeah, if you do it like here, like gaps, and you reduce the percentage of gaps, you can do it immediately here, and then copy paste it, and then you have it here. So that's how I always do it, because then it's easier. And now we have it like this. This is one informative graph. You could always take it as it is, but if you work with Excel, PowerPoint, Adobe, and then every figure looks a little bit different. So I would recommend, if you go with one figure, one illustrator, one graphical illustrator, you should stick with it, that one. So then you can do whatever you want with this one. If you want to change all the colors, it's easy, because then you just select one and you can change all of them. If you want to change one of them, you have to double click on it, and then you can change it. Not even then. So this is a little bit tricky here with Excel. So then I always take this one, go to another one, and this really, I like a, not a nice way to do it, I would say. Put it back, and then it's still not the color I want to. And then it's like this, and then I put it over this one. But this is not, as it's not, it's a workaround, I would say. Good. Then you can add here some legends or whatever you want to, so doesn't matter. You go back there, you say you group it, you put it there, you copy paste it, you scale it. And that's it. And then you have another figure over here. So that's how I do most of my figures. For example, I always also have one example where out of this one, so this is again an R output, and I wanted to show some variation, and this was not as informative. So I had a figure in my mind, but in R it's sometimes complicated to do it. So at the end, this figure looked then like this one, and I did this in Illustrator. So we started with this one, and then I shrinked it a little bit down. Then I added, like here, additional information. I added an arrow line, and then it looked at the end like this, which looks as a nice figure which fits together. So this one is like one that I did recently, but actually it's always the same. It always comes to the point that you need to shape and color code an Mds plot, a box plot, take the same colors. So this one then is, for example, the figure 2, and you see I use always the same colors. So, and this is really important that you use the same colors, and makes it so much easier if you have these libraries. I also did figure 1, 2. Like, for example, this one is like a normal panel figure. And I also did this in Illustrator. So you can also copy paste some of these signs which you found in the internet, and then you can do things like this with Illustrator easily. And all the things that you need to know are really aligning stuff, taking the colors from your figure, use this select similar shapes, colors, things like this. And then you can end up with, I would say, nice figures, or figures which you can publish. So I'm now open for questions, or if you want to see more or anything, because actually this is the main things which are important for Adobe. So that's what I always do. But now I'm open for your examples or your questions, or you can share your screen, or you can send me your PDF and ask me how to do anything like this, because this should be really like I want to help you with your problems if I could help you.
In your last figure, you used some like some symbols you said you got from the internet. Do you have any recommendations for websites where you can get like these photos or these symbols for free?
I always Google, for example, with this one, I Googled stool clip art. And if you do it then like this, there are some where you get them for free. But actually, if you do it like this, and then I go on Bilder, okay, this is not, yeah, okay, it doesn't matter. Then it's nicer to have one without a background and without anything inside. So I then go there and just copy paste them. So here, for example, is it this time? So there are some pages, but really don't waste your time too much to look for freely available ones, because either you do it by yourself, or like for this clip art library, for example, collection of stool clip arts, and then you can just use them. Bild kopieren. I always copy them then, and then put them. Okay, this one is not good, but yeah, you get the point. So it's Googling, and I don't have a source or I like a website where it works good. So I always use it like it is, and then you just copy paste it. It's important that sometimes a vector image is better than another one. So yeah, you can take this one. But this is more time consuming than changing colors or anything like this. But yeah, I looked a lot for these ones. You really need to look it up and then put it in, and then that's it. But they are for sure not freely available, or it's not, yeah. I have no source how to get them free. A good source is PowerPoint. They have all these different shapes and signs and everything, and you can copy paste them to Adobe and even change the colors. So PowerPoint has a good repertoire of these. So take a connection to this. Good. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you exactly generate these color libraries?
You go to a library.
Mm-hmm.
So this is if you.
But I have a different version. Also, I just try to find it. But
yeah, you can. So if you go on Window and then library, Fenster, Bibliothek, should be somewhere for sure. So it's always at Fenster, Window, and then library.
I have color guide, but there's layers, links. There's no library.
At this window.
Graphic style libraries I have. Swatch library, symbol library.
Yeah, this is then at the end, but this is then this one at the end are the symbol library and everything. I don't know what this actually is, but it should be on the top.
Yeah, but then there you could. I will check again. I have layers and links, but no library, and I have only color guide, color attributes, layers, links, magic wand, navigator, pathfinder. But anyways, then if I would find this, then you can.
Yeah, then you can just easily do here new library.
Okay.
And then you click on it and say erstellen. And then that's your library. And then you say, okay, I now want to add. Yeah, these are all grouped now. If you double click, you can use this, add this color to my library. And then you rename it and say, this is the one. And then that's it. And then you can add the next one and always click on this plus, and then you can change it and then give it a name, and then that's it. And it's really helpful, really. And you can also share it. So for example, here I have a shared one where someone shared a library with me, and then I can use her colors to work on the project. And yeah, these colors looks nice. So you could, so with this color help thing, it's always, again, it's helpful. At the end, I did not get it, why I should use it, but these are all these colors which fit together. And yeah, if you have many figures, at the end, you don't know what color you should use anymore. And then you should use blue, red and green, because you should use it together. So either this or that. And this makes it complicated if you have cases and controls. And so it's not easy. You can do a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but it should be somewhere. So somewhere you should get this library thing.
I have to click through. I have also a lot of shortcuts next to all of them, but I saw when you opened the drop-down menu, there was no shortcut for this for the library.
No.
Oh no, there was no.
There is just library, but if you click on these, now then you can import a library.
I will Google it maybe for this version.
Yeah, maybe you can Google with your with the version you have. Maybe it's called different, but should be not. It should be there. No, you don't even have. What is this one? No.
And the version that you are using, you sent in your email that there's a trial version. Is it the same as yours now? You have the most recent one?
I think it's. Do I have this? I have the 2020 version.
Okay.
It could be that there is a later one, but so mine is not old. It's like 2 years old max.
Yeah. Okay.
But the later the better, I would say.
Yeah. I have to CS6. I don't know. This doesn't really show you. I will find it somehow. I have another question for a paper. I should also create one graph for the introduction part to basically show a bit the theory that we have. Do you also use Adobe Illustrator for this? Because I found this quite challenging actually with all these layers all the time. And if you want to draw something, or do you also use Illustrator for this, or?
No, for example, for this figure, I used Illustrator as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't use these layers. I know it from Photoshop, but I never saw the advantage in using layers. So I use it as with PowerPoint at the end. And for me, I have the feeling if I now have done this figure in PowerPoint and the rest in Adobe, it looks strange because you recognize that this is not done in the same Illustrator for all kind of figures. So at the beginning, or sometimes I try to do it in PowerPoint in the beginning and then copy paste it to Illustrator and modify it in there. So that like I'm doing it with both, because otherwise it's yeah, I think it looks then not harmonized a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yes, the graphs look really nice.
And yeah, so I know that we always have this figure panel at the beginning, like an introduction describing the study design or something like this. But I would recommend to do it here as well, because here you can no, it's stuck.
How do you decide whether to use Illustrator or Photoshop for some images? Or
I never have images.
Okay.
So I always work with PDFs. And that's why I used Illustrator instead of Photoshop, because Photoshop is really just for images.
Okay.
And you really use it for PDFs or anything like this.
Okay, because in my project mostly deal with images in TIFF or PNG or JPEG format. And I also send one image just for you to see. And I don't know if it would be better to use Illustrator or Photoshop for this if I just want to enhance some brightness or change some colors.
I would say if you want to enhance the colors, I don't even know if you need Photoshop. Because with this one, we can try it.
No, I mean,
I never used
some. So like in the right side of the image, the white lines are a bit faint. So if you want to edit this image such that the white lines are more uniform in brightness and color, is it possible to do this in Illustrator, or I should use?
I never used this, but let's see. I don't think that Illustrator is therefore good. Pixelgenaue Darstellung. I would say this would, so if I would do it, I would put this one in a Photoshop freely available tool.
Okay.
And then try to, or Photoshop, or if your chair has Photoshop, then yeah. Photoshop. Yeah. And then put it in Illustrator when it's nicely shaped, and then do all these, for example, if you want to highlight this area, then I would do these kind of things then in Illustrator. I don't know, it makes no sense, I know, but like,
okay.
I think then the whole figure together in Illustrator, but adjusting your figure, your photo in another program.
Okay, I see.
And then I would do it a little bit like this. You see that And then you have the labels down here.
Yeah. And then if you see, this image also has a scale bar at the bottom. So in in this kind of image file, is it possible to take that out or change something there?
Yeah, naively, I would make one. Do you want to have it inside or outside?
Yeah, I want it inside, but to change the thickness of the line or the font size of the 10 micrometer, which is
so a bigger font.
Yeah, bigger font or thickness. Yeah.
So I would naively do it like this.
Okay.
And then do one line, which is the same length, I would say. Thicker. And then make it white, black. Make this one white.
But is it possible to extract out that scale bar and the text in white from this image?
Yeah, you can also extract this by cutting it out.
Okay.
But then it's again blurry. If you then scale it and put it
because in some of the graphs that you showed, you would select on certain parts of the graph and you could just move it around, like certain bars and boxes and all. So similarly, in these kind of image files also, is it possible to do that?
To cut it out?
Yeah, I mean, in some of the graphs from your PDF, you had certain bars inside boxes and you were clicking on single boxes and moving them around.
Yeah, but here you have you cannot remove the lines, because in a JPEG or in a photo you don't have lines. So this is only possible in vector graphs like a PDF.
Okay.
So here you cannot say I want to move this one because it's a picture.
Okay, so if that same graph would have been saved as a JPEG or PNG, it wouldn't have been possible.
No. So with this one, you need to find so the idea I have, you either cut it and increase it and then put it in again.
Okay.
Or you do this workaround by taking an extra label around it and put it like this. That's not nice because this is like too big. But yeah, you get the point. So
yeah, I got it.
Like this. So I would do it like this. Okay. And then it looks, I would say you immediately see that this is 10 micrometer and then it looks much better than it was before because now you see the band. So
yeah,
but that's just an idea. But I won't use Adobe for making it brighter or anything like that.
But in this Excel image that you had with the different taxonomies of bacteria, in that figure from Excel, you had actually those legends which were already at the bottom in your original Excel file. You could actually click on them and move them around. So, but this image wasn't a PDF, right? It was
not a pic. Yeah, it was neither a PDF nor a picture, but it was a vector. So that's the problem with a picture. A picture is a picture. You cannot put it.
So this image, how did you get from the Excel?
Just copy paste.
Oh, you just.
Okay. I just did here. And then I selected it like you normally do it. And then just Control A.
Okay.
And then Control V. And then it's inside. Okay. And then you always need to do this remove the group, remove the clipping masks so that every vector is alone, and then you can work with it.
So this image wasn't in a JPEG or PNG form?
No.
Okay, I see.
So you can, another way to do it is to save this one as a PDF and then import it again in Adobe, but Adobe and Excel are working nicely together. So
if I save that image which you had opened from me, if I save that image as a PDF, would it work? Or
yeah, then it would work.
Okay.
But I don't know if this is possible.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to know. I have never used any of these softwares before.
Yeah, so it is always like you can imagine that if you have a picture like you have it here, you cannot just extract one part of it because it's a picture.
Yeah.
So you need really like separate areas that you can select, and then it's working.
Okay. Okay.
Good. Any more questions? So if you're interested in anything else, like a figure that you want to generate, but you don't know how. So I don't know if I have some right now that are interesting. So you need to be creative, for example. Here we had like a dendrogram, which is also available from always when you do like Mds plots or something like this, similarities, things like this. And normally you get it flipped and then you see which one is which one. And I just flipped it again, and then I added some extra labels. So I sometimes put together different figures to generate one out of it. Like you see here, I added a line which shows the disease severity and the COVID status, and put them on the dendrogram. That's the same as I did, for example, here, where I added to a box plot additional information in kind of a heat map thing. And I do all of this in Adobe. So this is easily done because it's really here. I had rectangles, but what I need to do is then just be sure that the bright is the same, that the height is the same, and then that's it. So then it looks nice. And if you have, maybe I have one from PowerPoint.
I had another question about modifying the graphs. So because you just paste the PDF of one of the graphs on the Illustrator, and then you always click on boxes and lines and modify their colors and sizes. So how do you make sure that you don't change anything or shift any boxes or something?
Yeah, need to be careful.
Just need to be careful.
Yeah, there is no, because here, as you said, I could easily, like, I have a box here, flip it like this, and then it's a different result.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I say always have your initial PDF and then the one which is in the whole figure, and then be sure that you only work on the initial one and then put it to modify it and to shape it and to organize it in the big one, but have your real one still on the server or somewhere. And the only thing really is to make sure that you don't shift them singular. Never scale or use the mouse to shift them. Because then you don't know where it is. So always use the keyboard to do things like this. Yeah. And if you want to make it like this one, you can do it, but group it, be sure, because if you don't group it and then shift it, then it's again weird, because then then this is this one, and then this goes here, and yeah, so it makes it complicated, and it's easier if you group them and then shift them. If you want to shift them fast, like I do here, this is the normal keyboard one, and sometimes this leads long, but if you want to make it a little bit faster, you can put click shift, and then the keyboards, and then it's easier. But yeah, to make sure that you don't screw up your plot, try not to use the mouse to do anything like this.
Yeah. And another thing is that you said we can either save our things as a .ai file or export them as PDF or something else as images. So if we want to continue editing and modifying, should we save it as AI? That would be better.
AI is better, yeah. To modify it and to work on it, it's always better to work with an AI.
Okay.
Then sometimes if you have another version and you have it as a PDF, and then you open it again in Illustrator, then it's like an overlay over it. And you first have to remove the layer above the figures, and then it's sometimes the font is not the same. And so it's always better to have it as an AI if it's possible. Sometimes it's not because people sending you PDFs and then you have a PDF. But if it is possible for yourself, I would recommend to use the AI.
So for instance, right now, whatever you have open, you have so many different tabs in your, so when you save this as an AI file, will all of these tabs be saved together? Or
no, yeah, you save them individually because, for example, here, this one, I would save them as bar plot text. So, and for example, here is this one. This one is not nice, as you see, because yeah, now I can show you. If I now would have done my figure in PowerPoint and put it here, this looks strange. So you immediately see that this does not fit together, even though, so if I just put it like this, but if I now say, okay, I ungroup it and I unclip it and I try to modify it a little bit and use the colors that I normally use, like in a gray, and then I don't even know what this big thing here is. Then use the font that I always use here, then it starts to look better. But that's what I meant. Then if you just use it, combine different plots, then it looks weird. And then I had to remove the clipping mask again, and then I do the arrow mounting gray because, yeah, maybe like this one looks better. And then make it a little bit more harmonized than, yeah, the other one. And you see, even if though that I removed all the clipping masks, some are still together. So sometimes you need to do it multiple times. Oops. And there's again, here you see there are many blind hidden layers behind it. You can remove most of them and go on with it. So just to make sure you can import it and you can work with PowerPoint. And that's also that if you have like this, whatever I don't even find it anymore, but you can, there's some way where you can add all these nice human and women and whatever signs in PowerPoint. And you can copy paste them as well and put them then in Adobe. Yeah. So something else? So I also like this one. It's not the best, but it's again one from Excel, and I adjusted it a little bit in Illustrator to make it more similar to the others, and this one as well. So then it looks a little bit more like one figure, not like one put figure together. Yeah. Good. Oh, yeah. There's no message. So you can also, I don't know if you downloaded the test version. Unfortunately, it's just 1 week. So you can play around and try it. You can also contact me if you have if you're stuck and say, I don't know how to do this, then maybe we find a way how to do it easier. As I said, I'm not an expert, but I know how to make life a little bit easier with Adobe. And important is really same font, align, same size. This sounds so unimportant, but at the end, this makes the whole figure how organized it is at the end. So if you don't have any more questions, I have nothing more to show. You can share data with me. You can also say if I stay a little bit longer and you want to discuss something more detailed and I have time. Otherwise, you can continue whatever you've done normally on a Tuesday morning. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much for the short but nice introduction.
Yeah, I hope this helped. Really, I hope it was helpful.
Thanks a lot. It was.
So don't hesitate contact me if you have a question, because I spent so many hours in figuring out by myself. So before you spend too many hours, maybe there's an easy way to deal with the problem. Otherwise, I wish you a nice day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. If I can just ask you, are you working at the TUM School of Life Science?